what's the overhyped promise of AI in law? And what would you also say is criminally underhyped?
That what is way overhyped, and I'll give the reason why I think it's overhyped, is search capabilities. So I think lawyers, we have had access to AI searching for a long time, and also criminally underrated related to searching is actually the ability for AI to match patterns in searching. So a lot of people are just using AI to facilitate what they could do at a faster speed.
Hello, everybody, and welcome yet to another episode of the Everything AI and Law podcast with Tolu Lape Awoyami, Tolu for short. On today's episode, we are looking into the future of legal practice with someone who is redefining what it means to be a modern attorney in this AI era. My guest is Anna Junaja, an accomplished attorney, founder of her own law firm, annalaw.com, and the powerhouse behind annamedia.com, where law meets media in the boldest way. With a sharp legal mind and a pulse on innovation, Anna is leading the conversation at the intersection of AI, intellectual property, and digital culture. You've probably seen her breaking down complex legal trends on social media or speaking truth to tech with clarity and style. So guys, without further ado, please get your AI popcorn, your legal drinks, and your ethical flex, and come chill with us. Let's go. Separates the substance from the sizzle, right? So, Anna, from your perspective, what's the overhyped promise of AI in law? And what would you also say is criminally underhyped?
Okay, what I want to know before I give that answer, because I have various answers I could give, is are we talking about this from a perspective from lawyers or from the general public?
Lawyers.
Okay. So I think that what is way overhyped, and I'll give the reason why I think it's overhyped, is search capabilities. So I think lawyers, we have had access to AI searching for a long time, and also criminally underrated related to searching is actually the ability for AI to match patterns in searching. So a lot of people are just using AI to facilitate what they could do at a faster speed. So if you have a database and you want to have AI search and pick out everything from a particular person or date range, you could do that exactly, or a paralegal associate, whatnot, could do that exactly. AI is just doing it faster. What I think is criminally underrated that lawyers are not using a lot when it comes to AI is pattern recognition, is using AI, asking AI. And this requires a different skill set that lawyers, quite frankly, they don't have, because most lawyers generally don't have very good communication skills in general amongst themselves. And even internally, they don't have great, communication skills, or deep processing skills that would help them think outside of the box. So what I think the AI is so incredible at is pattern recognition and connecting the dots in ways that you couldn't do, because your brain as a human is not a computer. You are never going to be able to have a photographic memory of every single event in, 1,000 pages in front of you. AI can do that. It can recognize patterns. It can connect dots for you in that way that it would be very difficult for a human to do. And I think that's criminally underrated, because that is something it can do today easily. Perfectly.
So, would you want to go even broader in terms of AI generally, outside of law?
Okay, and I want to touch one more thing about law. So I teach a lot of CLEs to various state bar organizations and things, and I teach a lot of CLEs particularly about AI. why I'm teaching CLEs about AI. I don't know why it's me. That I think it's just literally because there's so few lawyers even using it. But in every CLE that I teach, I would say I've probably at this point taught about 200 of them. So I've probably taught, in each class there's, around maybe 1,000 people in that CLE. So you can consider how many lawyers that I've spoken to specifically about using AI in their legal practice or to assist them with legal work. And every single class, I will ask, how many people have ever used AI for legal work? I think I've gotten a total, I'm not kidding, a total out of the thousands of people that I've taught. I think I've had a total of maybe 20 people ever say yes, they've used AI in their legal work. And then I even ask, hey, how many of you have even used ChatGPT? How many of you have even like uploaded, text messages from your sibling or your significant other and said, ha, is this okay? Are they mad at me? Like, people don't even understand ChatGPT. I get questions every single CLE that I teach on how do I go to ChatGPT? And I'm like, go to chatgpt.com. Like, people are so freaked out by AI. They think it is some distant futuristic thing, or it's only for very young people, or they can't wrap their head around using. I mean, the tiny percentage of lawyers using AI baffles me. It shocks me. But, I don't even know if I can be mad about it because it gives the lawyers who are using it such an insanely competitive edge. I mean, it's insane. But I think that is just one criminally, I don't want to say underrated. I don't know if that's an underrated topic, but I find it incredibly shocking at how few lawyers even have taken the 5 minutes to familiarize themselves with AI.
Could this be because of the initial credibility of AI? Remember, was it last year or last 2 years when a lawyer got into trouble for using ChatGPT where it hallucinated and generated cases that didn't exist? Could that be an inertia could that have caused inertia within lawyers?
No, I don't think so because ChatGPT, for example, which is probably the first intuitive AI system that an average layperson, who's not a coder or tech person, could use and really see the capabilities of AI. I mean, that's been around 2, 3 years now. So that was around long before that case happened. And there are so many case uses for AI. I mean, if you are an attorney and you are going ahead and filing a motion and doing that without checking your case. I mean, let's be real. Any attorney watching this whoever's, monitored an associate or had an associate do work, I mean, the stuff associates give us is sometimes mind-blowingly bad too. No offense to any associates watching this, but I mean, I would say I've had associates give me fake work. Not only are their legal conclusions wrong half the time and you have to make them redo it, but I mean, they've definitely just miscited cases, made stuff up that doesn't make sense. I mean, anybody who's using AI or any sort of technology tool or any sort of team member beneath them to assist them with doing legal work and not checking their work, I mean, yeah, you should be punished for that. So people saying that AI is going to do their work for them and then expecting not to check it, I mean, that's just a true lack of common sense.
Right, I totally agree with that. I totally agree. So, do you think we are in a legal revolution or are we just speeding up paperwork with AI?
We are not in a legal revolution at this time because it is not adopted yet by the legal field. Um, so I think the lawyers who are using AI, which again I believe is probably like a less than fraction of a 1% of lawyers, I think they are in a legal revolution. And I think in a span of the next 5 years, it's going to really set people apart.
In your view, what would you say is the difference between AI powered assistants and the unauthorized practice of law?
I mean, let's say you're a layperson, a non-attorney is using um AI to come up with something. I mean, that's not unauthorized practice of law, right? If they're just saying, "Hey, ChatGPT, make me a lease for, my basement room that I want someone to live in." I mean, you could say that it's unauthorized practice of law to download something like that from the internet and have someone sign it, but that's not really what unauthorized practice of law is, right? So, Unauthorized practice of law would be if somebody like an accountant uses AI to draft contracts and give it to their clients. However, an accountant going to the internet and downloading a template of a document and giving it to their client is unauthorized practice of law. So I think it is literally just another tool, and we've been around technology forever. I mean, even Microsoft Word is technically like revolutionary technology, right? It changed the practice of law. So everything, and Microsoft Word allows you what? To save templates, to do copy paste. I mean, I would say AI is as unauthorized practice of law as Microsoft Word.
Smart. Wow, I never saw that from that perspective. Okay, so you own a law firm and a media brand. How would you see, or how would you say AI is affecting law firms and legal media differently?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. So I work with a lot of other law firms as counsel, two other law firms, one of them very large and one of them more boutique. And then I have my own book of business as well, and I have my own client base. And the differences in the ways that I get to practice law with the various clients due to a lot of the red tape at these firms and due to my not having red tape with the work I do for my own clients is very interesting. The level of efficiency, accuracy, and quality is shocking. Um, so I have, for my own clients, I have 100% success rate. I'm literally never lost anything because it is so accurate. Like if you follow the checklist, you do things step by step, law, at least transactional law, can be very, very seamless. Um, I see more and more integration that will happen into transactional law. It's really changed completely the way that I do everything, every step of my practice. And this is not just me. This should be pretty much any lawyer. I mean, if you think about it, even something so simple as onboarding a client today. What do people have to do? I don't think attorneys necessarily do this, but if you think about it, what would people be doing? They would be getting their information from the client, right? So if you are, just as an example, a family law attorney handling somebody's divorce, you're going to have to intake all the information from them. You're going to intake their financial information, their family history, et cetera, all of this information. So your team member, whether it's a paralegal receptionist, is going to intake all this information to get to the attorneys to analyze. And then they're going to have to get the money from the client. They're going to have the client sign an engagement letter. I mean, all of those used to require like 1 to 2 human beings. It used to require the client driving to the office or your paralegal typing things for you, getting it approved by you, printing it out, mailing it to the client. I mean, all of that is literally now like, oh, there's just an intake form, populates into an engagement letter that's automatically sent to the client, and then they automatically sign and pay it. There's nobody involved. There's nothing involved in it. It's literally all done. And if that is already happening at I would say, from my knowledge, I would say in over 50% of firms, they've already seamlessly started doing things using AI, and other types of technology, but specifically AI, to minimize a lot of back and forth, a lot of redundancy, improving their client experience. I don't even know if it's 50%, but it's a very high percentage. So now if you think about that, I think that's like e-signature has been well adopted, I would say. Not every single firm, but I would say over 50% of firms and maybe over 50% of lawyers, like under the age of, 50, are probably really comfortable using e-signature. Not, I wouldn't say 100%, but 50%. That's a wide adaptation. Now, when it comes to AI, I don't think anybody, very, very, very few people are comfortable using it because they don't know how to use prompts. The technology in the legal world is not yet mainstream. I would say just in general in the public eye, I would say ChatGPT is kind of the most mainstream AI generative type of AI platform out there. Maybe you disagree with that, but I would say just in the general public, that's probably one of the big ones. And I don't think that there's one of those for the legal field. So a lot of lawyers are scared of ChatGPT, which they should be, especially if they're using the free one. They shouldn't really be using that. But I would just say that there's just not wide adaptation of that, and I don't see that that's happening anytime soon. Realistically, I don't think that's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years. However, the people who do use it, which will always be a very small portion, will really, really be worlds apart than anyone else.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, real quick, everyone, I just want to tell you about something exciting. My new book titled AI Machine Learning Deep Learning from Novice to Pro is available for pre order. It will be out 9th of August 2025. And if you're my fellow crisp paper feelers, it will be out on the 9th of August and you can order your hardcover on that same day. If you're new to AI or you already have some foundational knowledge in AI, this book is for you. From novice to pro, it doesn't matter your level, this book is for you. Okay then, let me allow you go right back into the podcast. Thank you. Okay, so now that we've separated the substance from the sizzle, let's flip the script. You are the judge now. So I'm gonna throw you real world scenarios and you choose human, lawyer, or AI. And you tell us why. No pressure.
Okay.
Okay, so the first one is drafting a 15-page commercial lease in under 30 seconds.
Oh my gosh, AI.
Okay, why?
I've
Obviously.
drafted leases just, for my family's properties and things. And I've looked at leases we've received from lawyers and they're not that good. And you can tell AI, like I remember my mom owns a building and she was going to rent one of the bottom commercial spaces to a cigar shop. So then all I had to do was say, hey, Chat GPT, like, we're thinking about a cigar shop. Of course, there's odor issues. What other issues are there? And it came up with a whole list of issues. And I was like, okay, add those into the contract wherever they need to be. I mean, to get a lawyer to do that, that's going to cost how much? Like, that's going to cost a regular lawyer, like what, 5 to 10K to do that? And you're going to, like, real estate lawyers are like such a drag. No offense to any real estate lawyers in here, but they just are such a drag. So do you have to go through it with a fine tooth comb? Maybe look at local, statutes, etc. Yeah, but it did a superior job than any lawyer I've known that I've, been paying top dollar for.
Okay. All right. So the second one is handling a highly emotional child custody case. Human or AI?
Human. AI is not emotional. It doesn't get it. I think I would hope that the human lawyer uses AI because
Okay.
AI does have an incredible knowledge of psychology built into it. It can tell you what tone things are. It can predict things. It's very, very, it can give you a lot of insight. It's like having a psychologist or therapist analyze all of your work for you. What does that mean in a legal sense? I don't know. Like the divorce lawyer, I'm not a divorce lawyer, so I don't know how that would have any insights into it, but I can imagine it would be incredibly beneficial.
Okay. So the third is reviewing 80,000 emails for privilege in a class action.
Oh, of course, AI.
Yeah. Okay. Given nuanced immigration advice with geopolitical context.
I would say 50-50.
50-50. Yeah. Okay. And then the last is representing a client in a televised defamation trial.
Lawyer who uses AI.
Okay. All right. Okay. So now let's set the tone for the future. Imagine it's 2035 and you are walking into a law firm. What do you see? What tech are you using and what's totally gone?
I'm a transactional attorney and I think my practice will be gone by 35.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Hiding intellectual property. Okay. The way that I practice IP law, and this is unusual. I wouldn't say that how I practice IP law is typical. However, I was trained very, very well. And as much as I suffered, I guess you would say, as a younger associate, as in it was rough, like, right? I would say the first few years of my career in particular, like, years 1 to 5, very, very, very rough. Kind of like putting in the time though, because after that it was such insanely smooth sailing. It's not even funny, but I will say that I practice my type of law, like patents, trademarks, in a very formulaic way. And that formula kind of guarantees success the way I do it. Therefore, I've developed a lot of that. I have like a lot of my own, secret sauce for my strategy and how I do things. Um, I don't know if it's that unique. I think I'm just more organized and more strategic than other people in my field. And so I can get the kind of results that I do. However, it is very, very, very repetitive. And anytime you have something that is repetitive to the point where you can repeat the same strategy and system and get the same result, you are, I think, in a position where an algorithm or AI or an app could replicate it better than you. So I think that maybe me or someone else like me would have created technology at that point that replaces people like me.
That's interesting coming from a fellow a transaction lawyer saying that wow. I'm trying to imagine what other transaction lawyers would feel about this.
So if let's look at this from a realistic point of view.
Okay.
Right now, just trademarks I would say are more formulaic than patents, right? Filing trademarks is more formulaic than anything else in the IP space for sure, like prepping and filing a trademark application. 10 years ago, who did that? It was all attorneys. Okay. Now, over the last couple of years, you can go look at the top trademark filers. Who is it? Like top 1 through 10 is LegalZoom. Why? Because it's not that you intake information, you populate it in a form, and you file it. There's some strategy, there's some prompting, this and that. Does LegalZoom get as good of results as an attorney? I mean, it gets pretty damn close. Like, is it gonna be like an attorney like me? No. But is it gonna be like the average trademark attorney? Yeah, it's pretty close. If LegalZoom's success rate is like 60% and the average attorney's success rate is like 65, I mean, why would you deal with an attorney when you could go on a little app and like click around and done? Like why would you deal with an attorney? Even the most seamless, smooth attorney where it's all like one click intake forms, blah, 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 it's still not worth it. We all we love, like Bezos has conditioned us, right? One click. We love the one click. You go on whatever you want, whatever you want. You want a new, you want snacks, you want, new clothes, anything, you go on, you get it. You click it, it's done. You don't deal with it anymore, but it's done. That's what people want.
Right. Okay. I definitely agree with you. So, what AI tools have changed the game in your law firm?
So I don't think this podcast is actually geared only to IP attorneys. So I use a lot of AI specific software, so I'm not going to talk about those. Which is hard because that's all I do, but I would say just in general, and this is for everything from creating SOPs at my firm with my staff. And I don't just, I'm not just a lawyer. I have, like we said, I have various other businesses and I'm involved in a lot of other things. So in general, what are things that are really important in the legal field is writing, communication, client communication, staff communication, communication with other people that I work with, coworkers, what else? It's creating SOPs, documenting what you're doing so other people can do it instead of you. I would say are big things. Also creating diagrams, creating charts. I mean, I would say like ChatGPT, if you have is it $20 or $30 now? That version, which is like semi-private secure, like pretty good, that version can do all of that for you. And if you don't know how to use even ChatGPT, you should not pay for any other software. I mean, I pay for like one of my IP softwares, just one of them, I pay $100K a year. So that's it. I tell that to people and they're like, wow, that's such an insane expense. And I pay for that myself. Like I don't pay for that with another firm I work for or anything. I pay for that specifically by myself because it gives me insane tools that I use, that set me apart. But that's just something that's not me create. It's a vendor I get it from, right? So, or like a tech company, right? That I get it from. So, you really have to think about if you're not even at the point where you're comfortable with like ChatGPT, why are you paying for anything else, first of all? So I would say the vast majority of lawyers listening to this, they're not even doing that. Do you know how to use ChatGPT to write a client, email? Do you know how to use ChatGPT to write an engagement letter, write a contract? Do you know how to use ChatGPT to create like a SOP for your paralegal on how to get something notarized, like just stuff like that? Do they even know how to do that? I mean, if you're not there yet, you shouldn't be moving on to legal specific software.
agree. Sure. So, would you consider any AI use as incredibly genius and then on the flip side, dumb, dangerously dumb?
So one AI that I've not used yet,
Okay.
but this guy was messaging me on LinkedIn telling me about something he's creating, and it's basically like a AI that kind of looks at your screen, like attorneys' screens,
Mhm.
and it auto does your time entries for you. So imagine just clicking something, turning it on, or having it on in the background, and never having to do your time again. Because it
Okay.
will see what client you're working on. It'll calculate the minutes for you. It'll create an AI generated description right into your billing software. I mean, insane. That would be insane, right? I do flat fee. I'm transactional, 100% flat fee pretty much. So that would be though insane. How much billing would people capture with that? Right? That's like an insane genius view. Now, other types of AI, I mean, it's hard for me to say because I do such a limited scope of work. But I think anytime you're overdoing the steps or you're creating a higher barrier of entry to do it, like if it would take me a quicker amount of time to do something than like even typing it in to ChatGPT or something, that's probably overuse.
So, okay, now the next segment is to get into your gut reaction. No filter, just tell us what you think. So, it's a lightning round. You've got 5 seconds to answer. Are you
Okay.
ready?
Yes.
Okay, so AI lawyers should be allowed to get bar certified. Agree or disagree?
Disagree.
Okay. Most lawyers will use AI unethically within the next 5 years. True or false?
True.
We'll see a deep fake used as courtroom evidence. Fact or fear?
Sorry, say the first part again.
We'll see a deep fake used as a courtroom evidence. Fact or fear?
Fear.
Okay. Can I ask why?
I think the deepfakes we're seeing right now
Mhm.
are pretty good. And this is the worst they're ever going to be.
So, okay, yeah. Wait, isn't that meant to be a fact, not a fear? If the
Oh,
fake,
fact then.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
AI already writes better NDAs than most junior associates. Yes or no?
Most things write better than engineers.
No shades to junior associates, though. Yeah. One day AI will draft legislation. Terrifying or terrific?
True. I
True.
mean, better than what we have. Corporations draft our legislation now. AI would do better.
Okay,
Probably less bias.
but would a human being oversee it, or would he just okay? Of
I
course,
mean, a human's going to oversee everything,
yeah.
but I think AI drafting legislation and programming the AI to have actual human interests instead of corporate interests would fundamentally change this country.
Okay, so now that we've spoken about this segment, let's move to real talk to lawyers and law students who are listening. So, if there's someone right now in law school or running a law firm, what skill do they need to get now to stay ahead of the AI wave?
They need to get AI. They need to know how to work with it. And they don't. They really don't. I mean, it's shocking even like Gen Alpha and younger and Gen Z, like they have no idea of what it I mean, they're using it in very funny ways, but I would say 99.999% of people aren't able to understand the capabilities of AI and create effective prompts to work with it. They're not asking the right questions. They're not creative enough to ask the right questions. They're just, they're uploading their text messages from their, situationship into ChatGPT because they saw somebody do it on TikTok. They're not actually understanding the capability of it. They're not understanding the power that you're going to have if you know how to talk to it.
Okay, so for law students now, I understand the fear of professors in terms of students using ChatGPT to generate answers to assignments. What would you, What do you think about that?
They should create better assignments. Get with it.
How do they create better assignments that ChatGPT cannot answer?
Because ChatGPT is limited. Professors themselves don't know the limitations of ChatGPT. That's a problem. Because if I was a law student right now, I would cheat. I think you would. I think everyone would. You would too. You might not say it right now, but most would.
Yeah, and it's one thing knowing how to use ChatGPT so well that you could actually bypass a professor knowing you used ChatGPT. But I want to know, what are the limitations of ChatGPT? What can it not do?
ChatGPT is not. ChatGPT is very creative and it's going to give very standard, typical answers. So, which is, it's unfortunate on a law school level because you don't really know the law or life at that stage, especially if you're like, maybe if you're a non traditional student. I can't speak for you, but the average law student, the average like young 22-year-old law student doesn't really have a lot of life experience. They don't have a lot of real world work experience on dealing with people and things like that, right? So ChatGPT is going to give you a generic answer. It's going to give you what you could have came up with if you kind of like did the work, right? It's going to tell you, here are the elements of first degree murder. Here are the elements of second degree murder. It's going to do a little IRAC analysis for you maybe. But is it going to be able to come up with creative answers and creative out of the box solutions? Could you do it on international waters? Like, where are you going to get your boat from? If you do it, what jurisdiction's going to apply this? That, like, is it going to go beyond that? Like a real lawyer could, or like a real, us who are not a 22-year-old law student can do? Probably not. But to ask that of a law student is a lot. I'm now rethinking that. So I just think that the professors, and I'm not a teacher of any sort, so I don't necessarily know, but except my CLEs where I'm only teaching kind of what the state bar wants them to know. But when it comes to professors in law schools now, professors need to really get familiar with ChatGPT. And then you need to have some sort of, ability to filter that out, whether it means no assignments, which law school kind of is. It's kind of just your exam. There's no ChatGPT on your exam that's helping you. So that's a good thing. But when it comes to assignments, are you talking just like getting cold called in class and stuff? I'm not gonna lie, like in law school, I also just like bought the book or bought briefs from someone and like I don't think it detrimented my knowledge, to be honest. I think that the way law schools teach is ridiculous. They really think they're really special and they want to teach their information in a way that is not very productive at all. I'm coming from a science background, so I'm always going to feel that way. I think it is incredibly easy and simplistic material that lawyers learn, and they learn it in a very convoluted way that still doesn't benefit them because 99% of lawyers still to this day, even lawyers, with a decade plus experience, like still have very, very poor critical thinking and communication skills. Very average. I wouldn't say poor, but average. So I don't think that the way law schools teach in general is that great. So should professors be worried that people are just going to go on and be like, hey, give me this brief in case I get cold called tomorrow? Yeah, but like they could get that anyway. You're not going to have ChatGPT on your exam, on your final exam.
Okay, so I guess you've already given some recommendations. No assignments, more of in-class exams, and maybe cold calling. Yeah. I agree with that because
when it comes to cold calling, force people to do a little bit more than like state the law.
Exactly. Perfect. Spot on. You said what I wanted to say. So real quick, everyone, I just want to tell you about something exciting. My new book titled AI, Machine Learning, Deep Learning from Novice to Pro is available for pre-order. It will be out 9th of August 2025. And if you're my fellow crisp paper feelers, it will be out on the 9th of August and you can order your hardcover on that same day. If you're new to AI or you already have some foundational knowledge in AI, this book is for you. From novice to pro, it doesn't matter your level, this book is for you. Okay then, let me allow you go right back into the podcast. Thank you. So, all right, we've covered law, AI, ethics, and the future. Now, let's end on something different. Let's go courtroom drama. So, I'll give you this option. Do you want to give a 30-second closing argument on behalf of AI, or of the of human.
You're
So
asking this for someone who's never given a closing argument before in their life, but I'll try.
okay, all right. You know what? Let me change it. Just give maybe an argument or just a statement in support of either AI who wants to, or maybe an AI lawyer who wants to fighting for the right to exist, or a human lawyer who needs to stay relevant in an AI dominated system. Or you can go for both, or you want me
Which
to take one?
one?
Which one will, I'm guessing, of course, lawyers will pick human lawyer because
Oh yeah,
that's, yeah.
okay.
So you go for AI. Okay, all right. Okay, ready when you're ready.
Okay, so the reason that the AI lawyer should be allowed to exist or in defense of their existence should be that, quite frankly, despite the fact that AI has two major issues, which are hallucinations and bias, which I'll explain in a second, the AI lawyer is almost always, as in over 50% of the time, not almost always, but in the majority of the time, the AI lawyer is going to be far superior to a human lawyer and deliver a far, far, far superior experience in 99% of cases. 99% of situations to everybody, to their clients, to opposing counsel, to judges, clerks, everything. The AI lawyer is going to provide a better experience. They are going to do better than like 75% of people in actually figuring out the law. Other lawyers, human lawyers, and they're going to do better than like 50% of lawyers in kind of understanding the emotional aptitude, and they're probably just going to be better lawyers because a lot of law is just organizing, doing things on time, et cetera, et cetera. And you have a computer doing that. You're not dealing with lazy humans, and humans have that human error and human laziness factor to them. Lack of communication, et cetera. That I think isn't that the reason most people get sued for malpractice is like lack of, or biggest complaint about lawyers is lack of communication. So AI just solves 99% of issues that people have with humans. And that benefit to society, especially with how insanely restrictive it is financially to get adequate legal assistance in the world, is so beneficial compared to the 5 to 10% of issues that it might have, probably even less as time goes on. The two main issues with AI are bias, which means it's being fed bias information and that's what it's generating. And that can be counter programmed into the system. And hallucinations, which means the AI can potentially make things up. However, at the end of the day, those type of errors are equivalent or less than the errors you're going to get from humans, and the benefits just far outweigh the costs.
Okay, so I have a follow up question to that. Would you imagine a situation where AI is treated as co counsel in a courtroom?
It should already be treated as co-counsel.
Already now?
The lawyers who aren't doing, I mean, if I was in charge, thank God I'm not for everyone, but if I was in charge, it would be literal malpractice not to be using AI in your practice today. The
Wow.
technology for certain things, is so much better than your own brain in some cases, than your associate, than your paralegal today.
Would you ever let AI take a deposition solo?
I've never done a deposition, so I don't know.
Okay.
I honestly genuinely don't know.
What would you think? What would you ever allow an AI do solo versus never?
I would say I would allow it to do a lot. Just maybe not a final review, and maybe not some very delicate communications that I don't let anybody, like I have certain clients, that I need to handhold. The situation is delicate. It's sensitive, things like that. We always have those little things, and maybe that's just like I'm overly controlling about certain clients or certain communications and things. But I would say, I mean, the way I use AI and like the softwares that I use it for, the things it can draft, I mean, I wouldn't say it's quite as good as me, but I mean, I'm an attorney who has worked in the same field for over a decade, I think now. And like, not just worked in this field for a decade, like, I mean, those first few years, I mean, that was like literal, like 120-hour weeks. Like that was like, I feel my experience level is far exceeding even, the years I've been in practice due to the strenuous, first few years that were beyond even, the strenuousness of other associates, especially now. Associates nowadays, like if you're graduating now post COVID, you are never going to work like we used to work. It is what it is. I don't want to say it's good or bad. I don't want to say that what I did was good. I'm saying it provided me a lot of benefits in my experience. So is AI going to come up with the same clever arguments that I can? I'm also like, I would consider myself a very creative person. I have a lot of arguments and things that have, been used for the first time and won. So I don't think AI is that kind of lawyer. However, every like 85% of other trademark patent attorneys, yeah, AI is better than them.
What about the issue of privacy in AI?
I think it's the same as anything else. I don't know what practice management system you use. I mean, I use Clio. What billing software you use, it's the same thing. We are all a little bit exposed whenever we're using technology. People should tighten up their engagement letters and things like that. Get cyber insurance. Mitigate your risks. Know what vendors you're working with. Don't use free versions of anything. It's hard for me to say anything about privacy beyond, use your comments. I can't even say common sense because it's not very common, but you do your due diligence. But at the end of the day, if that is what is deterring you, that's going to be an issue for you. As a client, let's say I wasn't an attorney. Let's say I was an attorney. I have a speeding ticket, or I murdered someone and I need help. I would rather hire an attorney that is using AI, maybe has some privacy risk to it, but I'm going to get a better outcome than, a 60-year-old attorney who doesn't even know how to send an email. I just the comparison is not even a legitimate comparison in my brain. But I'm saying this as someone who knows the capability of AI and how incredible it is. The average lawyer is not even going to understand that statement I'm saying because they don't know how crazy it can actually help you, what the capabilities are. It is like having, even if all you're going to do as an attorney is have your $20 chat GPT, that in and of itself is like having 4 third-year associates doing your work, helping you do your work. It's not like having a co-counsel quite, unless you're really, really good at using ChatGPT. But it is like having, even if you're horrible at using AI, it is like having multiple mid-level associates, lower mid-level associates. And they, you know what? They're workhorses, right? They really are. They're the kind of the backbone, associates are a backbone of a firm. If they're not there, work doesn't get done, or it gets done a lot quicker, right? So that, not using that is, to me, literally like malpractice. Not using that tool that's there right now, basically for free, for an incredibly, insanely low cost, not using it to provide your clients better service because you want to bill more hours is like malpractice to me.
Spot on, honestly, spot on. So what closing thoughts would you like to leave with the listeners before going?
None, because I want to keep my competitive advantage by using AI.
Wow. Okay, so I guess the closing thought is use AI, right? Okay, smart.
If they don't get that point.
Yeah, I know. I hope I don't know. Do I hope they do or not? Which hope should I choose?
You can never tell people what to do. Okay. If they know now, they know now, they just don't care. And with that, if that's how you are, because you're cool with, doing all that, you're going to be one of those people we make fun of for not being able to use Hello Sign or whatever it's called. DocuSign. So if that's what you want to be in 10 years, that's what you're going to be. But you don't have to.
There you have it, everybody. Thank you so much, Anna. It's been a pleasure talking to you. You're so smart. Yeah, honestly, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much, and take care. Bye, everybody.